So good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's lesson. Tonight, we are going to be looking at the rest of techniques in project management. Last time we met, we discussed some of the techniques, but we couldn't finish the techniques. But tonight, we are looking at finishing the rest of the techniques we have in essential techniques, because there are so many techniques. We're looking at the essential ones. So it's the second lesson of this essential techniques in project management. Okay. The last time we ended at this critical path method. So now we have at least a good knowledge of critical path method. We can approach critical path method even if we don't know it in there, but with what we have, we can manage a simple project applying this critical path method and other techniques like this Gantt charts, path analysis, breakdown structure, work breakdown structure. So these are things we've covered, and this is a good diving into this project management. Gradually, we are digging deep into project management. We can manage simple projects applying some of these techniques we've already done. If we want to organize an event, we can start applying some of these. We can equally manage big projects by applying the techniques we have, but we still have others that are very important we need to look at, like risk management, because everything in project is all about risk. There's so much risk, and in a project management, risk and issues. So we've seen this topic before, but when we're looking at documentation, we saw a document called Risk Register. We saw another document called RAID Log. These are some of the key documents or tools or documentation that or deliverables that comes out through applying techniques in risk management. So let's have another overview look of risk management. Risk management is the process of identifying, assessing, prioritizing, and responding to potential events that could impact a project. Its aim is to minimize the negative impact of risk and maximize the chances of project success. So anything that can cause our project to be out of alignment is what we call risk. And why we have risk management is to make sure we stop such incidents or reduce the impact of such incidents, even if it happened, we try to minimize the impact, the damage, the loss. So that is why we are having this risk management, and it's very, very important in projects. Okay. And we're going to talk about issues, but let's finish with the risk. Issue as well is a risk that has taken place already, risk that has happened, but we're coming to issue after risk. So what are the benefits of this risk management? Risk management proactively identify and mitigate risk of project risk. It proactively is ahead of time, you capture it and provide a solution. So that's what I mean by mitigation. Number two, it helps us in improved decision making based on risk analysis. Well, after conducting a risk analysis, we are better informed to take critical decisions that will help us in saving our project from us reducing the impact of the risk. It increases the project predictability and reduce uncertainty. So once we were able to identify, analyze, so the uncertainty of it happening again will highly be reduced because we already captured it, we already identified and analyze it. Enhance communication and stakeholder buy-in. When stakeholders are seeing the kind of risk management plan you have, you will see them supporting you. You know, stakeholders are very scared because looking at the amount of investments committed in a project and there is no adequate risk management plan, they don't want to lose their investment. But once they see that you are very good, you show them that it will increase their confidence in you as a project manager, and then they will give you their buy-in. When we talk about buy-in, we talk about support. Stakeholder support is what we call stakeholder buy-in. That will reduce any kind of resistance to your decisions within the project. But if you don't have good risk management in plan, so many stakeholders, you know, they will lack that confidence in you. Now we've identified some of these key benefits. How do we create a risk management plan? The first thing is to identify potential risk through brainstorming, workshop, or historical data analysis. Okay, when we talk about brainstorming is about collaboration. When team members come together to think, look for solution, crack their brain about a particular event or situation, that's what we call brainstorming. So in this case, as a team member, it means we'll have to be having regular brainstorming session. And that's why when I was talking about RAID, I said in the past, some of the projects I manage, we use what we call RAID meeting. RAID meeting becomes a weekly meeting we have in order to brainstorm and document risk. Not only documenting risk, but mitigating the risk within the RAID meeting. So that is what, like, that can be done through workshops. Workshops is equally good, where we can have a session to create enlightenment or ask questions is still part of brainstorming. Another way is historical data, where we can use documents called lesson learned. If a team have handled such similar projects in the past, we can go to the project archive and look for similar project and find out some of the risks or challenges the people that have handled such project have encountered, and leverage on that as a solution for. Also, one will have that's what we call historical data, using information that we've already captured in the past. So the next one is, after identifying potential risk through brainstorming, the next thing is to assess the likelihood and impact of each risk. Every risk comes with impact. Impact is a negative impact, because we can have positive and negative impact. So we need to assess the likelihood, that is how certain the probability of the risk happening, and if this risk happen, what is the impact? That is analysis. Then after carrying out the analysis, we develop a risk mitigation strategy. We must have different strategies in place in order to tackle such risk. It's either we have a way of avoiding the risk avoidance, or transferring the risk, or mitigating the risk, or accepting the risk. So these are various ways. Some of these insurance policies, so many companies, every project have insurance policies covering such projects. In big organization, they cannot even it becomes part of their policy that most of their major projects must be insured, must have an insurance guiding the risk. Like even in construction industries, you cannot go into any construction site if you are not insured. You know, these are some of the risk strategies. You can have other ways of avoiding a risk. If a way we can avoid a risk is if we know that at particular, for instance, let's say in during the month of April, that is always raining. And for instance, let's use a country like Nigeria. We know that during June, July is a peak of rainy season. So many people that tend to have event or ceremony like wedding, or mainly traditional marriage and burial, they tend to avoid such period of the year. This is what we call risk avoidance. They know that there is chances of rain or flood disrupting what they are doing. So the only way to do that is making sure that if you are trying to put your wedding, you look for a dry season of the year and put your event, like you see December, when we see maybe no rain or things like that. Is a way of avoiding a risk. And we'll talk about risk mitigation is providing a solution to tackle that risk. You know, if the risk happen, you must have a situation such as contingency plans. You know, if you are starting a project and you have like 10,000 pounds, instead of using the 10,000 pounds as initial startup fund, you can start with £7,000. You can even start with £5,000. So, meaning that you've kept £5,000 or £3,000 as a contingency plan. That is a mitigation. That is a plan on how to handle this risk. You are not saying that you are going to run out of fund, but you put yourself in a tight corner initially. Try to be very prudent and conservative in your expenses and the budgeting within the 7,000. So if by any chance you slide out of that 7,000, you still have something to fall back on without running to the stakeholders to tell the stakeholders you run out of funds. But if you manage to finish the project on time and within the standard with £7,000, then the company or the stakeholders are going to celebrate you. You see people with that kind of management, you start getting promotion, and something like that. Even if you are working in that company as a contract staff, this is opportunity for them to convert you into their permanent staff. So these are ways you can manage a risk and make a name for yourself within the project team. Another one is accepting the risk, knowing that there is no other way. The risk, you can't avoid the risk, and you can't transfer the risk, and you can't mitigate the risk. So the only way is accept the risk. The only during this situation is just trying to cushion the effect of the risk. How do we cushion the effect of the risk? A risk we cannot transfer, we cannot avoid, or we cannot mitigate. Some of this is what we call like debt. It's something you find out how do we. So the only way in this scenario is like having something like insurance, life insurance, so that when you die, the effect or the impact on their people will be highly cushioned. Maybe they will not start, having difficulties. The debt will not, impact on them so negatively because maybe you didn't leave enough fund for them. So if you have an insurance policy, they can fall back on that. So another way of creating a risk management plan is to assign ownership. After you have identified the risk, assess the likelihood and the impact, and develop a mitigation strategy, then it's time to assign the risk and ownership. And ownership is that within your team, you look at someone who have good experience or exposure within the area you are having a risk, and then assign the person to manage that risk. So that's a very good way of when you assign a risk to an owner, it doesn't mean that the owner will have to manage the risk in isolation. It means that the owner will be driving the process of managing the risk, carrying everybody along. So if they are have 5 risks identified, you assign it to different people, everybody will be driving, trying to solve that particular risk and close the risk. And another one is regularly reviewing and updating the risk management plan through the project. So once there is an ownership, whoever is owning any particular risk must keep everybody up to date through a regular review by updating the plan. For instance, if you are using a RAID log, all we need to do is continue to update our RAID log so that everybody having access to the RAID log, we know the extent of whether the risk is still open. When you finish managing a risk and there is no more sign of that risk, it means you have to close the risk. So that is one of the ways you can update the risk management plan. Either you close the risk or you leave it open. Or if you are the owner of a risk and at a point you find out that it's not something that you can do anymore, it can be escalated. You can escalate the risk to a higher authority to look into it. So during the risk management, it's always good to have a time frame to manage a risk. You cannot manage a risk forever. So when you are managing a risk, the project manager will assign you a risk to a risk owner and assign a due date when that risk or that deliverable should be due. So by that due date, and the risk owner could not resolve or come up with any tangible plan on how to resolve the risk or reduce the impact of the risk or whatever the person is doing or close the risk, then the risk has to be escalated to the higher authority. So these are ways through which we can manage risk. The best practice here is encourage a culture of open communication about risk. When there is risk, whoever is managing the risk should be very transparent in managing the risk, calling meeting, reviewing, and updating regularly. Everybody should be on the same page of what is going on in a particular risk. And if a risk cannot be managed within a given period of time, it should be escalated. In so many cases, there's some softwares, when you automate how a risk will be managed, at the end of that day, and the risk is not closed, the risk will automatically escalate itself. The solution will escalate the risk to the next person, even if the owner do not want anybody to know or to escalate it. So it means you, the owner, you don't have control over the risk. So it can be escalated. This is another good way. Allocate resources. Another number 2 is allocating resources for risk management activity. There should be allocated resources for managing a risk. Conduct regular risk review to assess changing project condition. And then document lesson learned from risk management throughout the project. When lesson learned is being documented, like what I said earlier, we're talking about historical data, your team can always go back to see the way that risk is managed and apply it in our upcoming risk, or other project team can use it as references. So these are ways we can manage risk and the best practices in managing risk. So in conclusion, risk management is an essential practice for projects. By proactively managing risk, can increase their chances of project success rates and achieve better outcome. And now let's talk about issues. Issues and risk, the way we manage issues and the way we manage risk are almost the same way, but the difference here is that this issue is that the risk has happened. You could not transfer the risk, you couldn't stop the risk. Now it has happened. Now the risk has happened, you have to deal with it. So issue management is the process of identifying, documenting, resolving, and tracking issues that arises during the project. It ensures that issues are addressed promptly and effectively to minimize the impact on the project. So these are risks that has happened, and the only way is to address it to reduce or minimize the impact. Benefit is improved problem identification and resolution throughout the project, increase project transparency and accountability, reduce project delay and cost overrun caused by unresolved issues, enhance communication and collaboration around issue resolution. So you see here they say reduce the project delay and cost overrun caused by unresolved issue. This can be a very big, a serious matter in a project. When the issue happens, it's very important to handle that issue, because the more the issue is being delayed, the more is causing more damage to that project. So it's keep on causing damage to the project. If you eventually, let's say you are here, you have cost overrun. You run out of money and it's not properly addressed. Trying to look for money, you do not know how long it's going to take you to get a funding to finish the project if you do not have any plan, any mitigation plan. What if you take a project you're supposed to manage for 6 months and you have all of a sudden you run out of funds because you aren't managing your project very well, and there is no proper plan on how to address this? When you run out of funds, it can take you another 2 months to get approval for another fund, or it might not even come at all. It means that the project is half done, you didn't finish the project, and so there's a lot of chain reaction that can happen out of when an issue is not managed very well. So how do we try to get out of this ugly situation? See how to create an issue management process. Define a clear process for identifying and reporting issues. It must be clear. These are a plan that should be in place before the project even starts. Establish a system for documenting and tracking issues, such as issue log that can be found within RedLog. Assign ownership and responsibility for resolving issues. Develop a process for escalating unresolved issues or critical issues. If you come in a project, some team members will be hired if they are managing issue. Some of them, because they don't want people to feel they are not competent, you know, they will be hiding such a situation, and before you know it, it escalates. So such a situation should be handled, just like unwanted pregnancy. You can see someone trying to hide unwanted pregnancy, or even these are some of, there should be a way of, you know, automatically escalating the issue. Because in a situation like this, when a child, a young lady becomes trying to cover it, can maybe trigger and even kill the person. So there should be a way of regularly looking at it, making sure there is clear way of handling such situation if we have a situation like this. Monitor issue resolution process and track trend to identify the root cause. So when issue happen, we cannot just solve issue from the surface. Every issue must be resolved looking at the root cause of the issue. Applying every issue root cause analysis must be applied to every issue to make sure that such issues do not repeat again. These are way of managing issues. The last number, which is number 5, is extremely important. Applying root cause analysis to understand the cause of every issue, the major cause of that issue, and escalating issues. There must be an escalation process for critical issues. So when we are resolving issues and it's not happening, it should be escalated immediately. Just like I said, is similar to risk, but the only difference is that at this point it has happened and it's already impacting on the project. But a risk, you can handle a risk that the risk will not happen again. You can divert, you can dodge the risk. That's what called risk avoidance. For instance, if as a wise project manager and you've been assigned to handle the farm a burial, maybe you are an event manager, you have a contract to manage events like burial, and you quickly try to find out the best time, looking at kind of dignitaries and a lot of things happening. You decide to find the best timing, looking at what your stakeholder or your client wants. If you put such event in dry season, there is no way you can say there will be rain, even if you don't have even if it's an open event, there is no way a risk of rain will become a bad situation for you. But in a situation where you didn't put that into consideration and just fix the date, and on that day it starts raining, so that rain is now an issue. So how do you manage that issue? If it's now in rain, how do you manage the issue? It's either you have a tent or you have a hall, whichever, but these are way of managing issue because it's already happening on that particular day of event. That thing you didn't want to happen is happening. So how do you manage it? And how do you make sure such a thing doesn't happen again? By applying root cause. So the best practice in managing issues is open communication and early reporting of issue. When issue happen, it's very important to report issue. There is no way trying to cover issue up. Utilize a standardized issue management tool to effectively track and resolve issue. Conduct root cause analysis to identify the underlying cause of issues and prevent reoccurrence. Learn from issues and adapt project process to improve further performance. So that is it for issue management. A well-defined issue management process is essential for proactively addressing challenges and ensuring project success. Now, we have to look at some of these closely, or some of the tools we can use for this issue and risk management. During our early stage, we talk about risk register, we talk about RAID log, but I told you people we are going to, because we've been using RAID, I've been using RAID log, and I think it's better because it's more scalable than risk register. You can use RAID to manage risk, and you can use RAID to manage issues and other things like assumptions and dependencies. So because of that, we're going to look at a tool called RAID log that can be applied for whether we're managing issue or we're managing risk. So what is RAID log? It's a project management tool used to store several project information in one place, a central repository for all, such as risk, assumption, issue, and dependencies. Now we're talking about risk and issue management, and now we can see a document we can use to manage risk and issue, and even more, which is assumptions and dependencies. And you can see these assumptions and dependencies are factors that can lead the project. If they are not managed very well, they will pose danger, they become they pose risk, become a risk to the project. So that's why we are capturing them as well, assumptions and dependencies. So they can cause risk, and risk can cause issue. And we can use RAID log to manage all of them. So what is risk here? According to RAID, like when we say RAID is a short form of all this. So R here stands for risk, and A here stands for assumptions, and I stands for issue, and D stands for dependencies. So risk is something that will have a negative impact on the project if it happens, and can lead to quality delay or cost problem. This is according to RAID. According to RAID, assumptions are those factors that are taken for granted but cannot be guaranteed and may impact the result of the project. So that is assumption, not something we can say we know is there, but we take it for granted. We don't put much emphasis on that. So it's good to, you don't take anything for granted in project management. So in project management, you try to look for some of those factors or such events that can be as regarded as assumptions, and put them into, capture them as well, and be monitoring them. As you can see what RAID said, they can be taken for granted, but cannot be guaranteed. So these are some of the situation here. So according to RAID, issue here are incidents that cause the project to become out of alignment. So risk that have already occurred, that is issue. Then dependencies are those activities that need to start or be completed in order for the project to proceed. when we are looking at Gantt charts and critical path analysis, we saw dependencies. We could say that some activities cannot start until others finish. So when the predecessor activity is delayed, then the main order, the following activities all of them will be delayed. When the predecessors are delayed, the successors, all of them will become delayed. And when they are delayed, they are impacting on our timeline. And when our timeline is affected, we're not, when our timeline is affected, we're not doing performing our activities at the appropriate time because of the delay, the funding is equally affected. In a situation where the workers has been hired, they keep on coming to work, and they are waiting for activity to finish before they start their own, you're already paying them. You keep on paying them, whether they are doing anything or they are not doing anything, you keep on paying them. And the money is going, and they are not achieving anything. And before you know, you start running out of funds as well. So these are how dependencies can trigger chain of action that can, start derailing our project. And that is why we are capturing not only risk and issue, but we equally capture assumptions and dependencies according to RAID when we are managing a project. So why RAID is this important? It keeps your project organized and on track. It makes the information easy to store and retrieve. Useful document in regular project meeting and audit. It gives confidence that the project is in control. It gives you confidence, and it gives the stakeholders confidence. Like I said earlier, stakeholder buy-in. When you are managing your project with a document like RAID, and you see how RAID is organized, the stakeholders, they will be very happy with you. So how do we manage this project risk or issues and dependencies and assumption with RAID? A good practice is to create a RAID log at the beginning of the project, then regularly update it as needed through regular project meetings. So at the beginning, because the moment the project starts, the risk, issues, everything starts, emanating. You can't say that a project is too young or it's too early for you to start having RAID or start managing risk, because the day you start the project, something can happen. A key team member can just drop out. He's not coming. And it becomes a serious problem. If you are starting a project, after 2 days, the business analyst quits. That is a big blow to you as a project manager. So if you don't have any plan, it's going to delay the project. So these are the reasons why you start capturing issues, risk, and dependencies and assumptions from day one. So the way we create this is looking at this diagram or this table here. You can see the issues and assumptions and risk is under this category. And then the description is captured here, the priority is captured, and the status. So whenever you capture any situation, you must define the situation by either capturing the situation under a category. It must be categorized, whether it's an issue or whether it's an assumption, whether it's a risk, and whichever category it is, you must describe the type of raid you captured and prioritize it, and you must leave it open or closed depending on the status. You must identify the status of that particular situation. So looking at this particular picture, this is how a RAID dashboard looks like. A RAID normally comes with a dashboard. This is how it looks like, and this is how the log looks like. We've had a look at this briefly when we are doing our documentation. And what we need to do is, I will take you people to the actual RAID document so we see it how it looks like. And here is our RAID document we are going to be using for this project. So now look at our dashboard here. You can see in our dashboard, it's clean here. And this is our log here. So under our log here, what we captured here is, let's see here. You are starting a project, and your project is this way, meaning that there is nothing captured, and you want to start capturing RAID within the first RAID meeting. And you come here, you have to describe what is happening. I've used rain. We're having an event, and we don't know whether it's going to rain or not. So it's an open event, like outdoor event. So here a rain is one good risk that can, or issue that can disorganize an open door event. So looking at that open door event, what are we saying here? We can capture, say, rain. So rain here, based on the nature in an event, it has not happened. So, but we're capturing it as a risk. Depending on the time we're capturing this, we are still at the planning stage. So we can capture this as a risk. And when such a thing happens here, we have to state the impact. So if we are meant to have a meeting that day and it start raining, it can disorganize the whole event and even delaying the event or making us not to realize the real value. So it can cause disorganization. Can disorganize our events. And if it's happening in a situation like this, now we are working as a team, 3 of us here are working as a team. We've captured rain as a risk, and we need to assign an owner to this particular risk. Trying to assign owner, we'll look at who have good knowledge of how to manage a situation like this. So we look at someone who have good knowledge, let's say Anastasia.
Yeah.
So now we are assigning this to an owner. And when we assign an owner to this particular risk, we need to prioritize this risk. If we have a rain on our event, what is the level of the severity of rain falling in our event? Is it low? Is it something people can just be, maybe the rain will discomfort people, but we can still carry on doing what we are doing and people can still, or can the rain disorganize everything we are doing? People can just, even people will not even come, or even people that have arrived the event will just leave. So for me, it can be a critical or high. For let's say it's high.
Yeah.
Looking at the priority here, critical is when some people are getting injured because of the rain, some even loss of life, which I don't think rain falling in our raining in an event can cause such a critical situation. But high, we can say high because it's a big discomfort. And then here we assign a number. This number will be, call it read priority number. So this number we can say using a scale of 1 to 5 or scale of 1 to 10. And then we'll give a number here. And then once such, like say this, we can give this, let's say 8, 8. And here, because we've not found a solution to this, we leave this as open. So, and once we find a solution to this rain, maybe say we are going to get a canopy or a tent, although it's going to be an open event, but we are going to get a tent or a canopy. Let's just say good, strong canopies. When you put canopies, it's still open event. So when it starts raining, people can just go into the canopy and it's going to. So looking at this is how do we, but as long as we've not, if we solve it, we close it. For instance, we've made arrangement for a canopy and paid for the canopy man that will come and put canopy for that open event. When you are putting canopy, it's still an outdoor, it's still open. So this is a way of trying to manage a situation like rain. So if it start raining, yes, but this is going to minimize the impact of this rain so much. But if we say no, it's an outdoor and there is no canopy in a park and it's raining, there is no house. For instance, here in UK, it start raining, you cannot just run into people's houses. You can't even run into church. There's no place to go. So you can see the kind of discomfort that can be. But if you are in a park and there is tent within everywhere within the park, so when it starts raining, people can just go into the tents, and so that is a way of capturing a situation such as risk, such as dependencies. But if this, we say this is an issue, you can capture it. If we're saying that this is an issue, it has maybe during, because if as a project manager, even on that day of events, you will still be managing your project. Now we started managing that, and that particular day it started raining. So that is an issue. On that particular day, it started raining. So if we do not have any plan, how do we do such a thing? So these are how we capture some of these. So, but if we are planning ahead of time, it's still a risk. So all we need to do is make arrangements for this. But like this, if there's an issue and there's on that particular day, it start raining, and we have paid for a canopy man, and the canopy man is not showing, is not coming. We paid for a canopy, and it started raining, and there is no sign of canopy man. So you see, this becomes a big issue here. So, but if we have captured this, and when there is no canopy man, we made arrangement for another canopy man, or we have numbers, full numbers of other canopy men around, all we can do is, this is already happening. All we can do is, maybe before the rain becomes a heavy rain, we start calling other canopy men, maybe 3 or 4 canopy men. At this point, we cannot just call only one canopy man. We can call up to 3 canopy men at the same time, depending on whoever comes first. So you can see, we can say, this is how we are going to manage this particular issue. So, but doing this, you do it within your team, is going to be brainstorming. At this point, it's like I'm only one, I'm brainstorming. But when 3 of us now are brainstorming, how do we manage it? When that is how, during RAID meeting, you can use this document to be capturing and analyzing, and that is how we can use RAID. So that is the way RAID works. So, and if you come to after capturing all this, if you come to this dashboard, you can have a summary of everything that is happening within this document. Let's see, open here. So you can see we have one issue here that is open. But if, and you see totally we have one issue, I'll have one situation. If I go to my RAID log, this is RAID log, you can see it's open. That's why one is showing. If I close it now, I'll close, meaning that I've mitigated. This is no longer a problem. If you come to RAID log, so RAID dashboard, you see there is no situation here. Everything is clear. So that is how you can just look at your dashboard, and you know the amount of the amount of problem facing you as a project manager. Why this dashboard is very good is because, forgetting that just we have only one situation. What if we are working in a big within a big organization where we have a lot of issues, a lot of dependencies, a lot RAID captured within this RAID log. So for you to start scrolling down, trying to see what is going on, how you can just at a glance, here you see how healthy your project is looking, or your stakeholder can just have an access to this. Looking at this, your stakeholder knows exactly how healthy this particular project is looking. So if you have a lot of critical issues, it means that your project is really in bad shape, or high issues or high risk, your project is in shape. But when you come here, you see, yes, you have issues, you have risk, but they are all low and negligible risk and issue. Then you know you are really working hard and you are getting there. So that is how this RAID. This RAID is very good document, which as an upcoming project manager, these are some of the documents you keep for yourself and start building your own library. So this is how RAID looks. Let's move back to other topics. Now with this, we are done with this. There's another document or tool we can use. We call it PI metrics. So PI metrics will help you to find the impact. For instance, if you really want to find how this impact comes about, you can apply this PI metrics. PI metrics means probability impact metrics. So what is the probability of a particular situation happening? Looking at this, you see PI, probability is certain. Certain means that yes, you are sure that is going to happen. Likely is likely you are under probability. Possible is possible, but it's not likely. It's a situation that can happen, but it's not likely to happen. But it's not certain. But when you talk about certain, is make sure that you are sure. Likely is that the chances are high. Possible is meaning that yes, it's 50-50. Unlikely is that it can happen, but the chances of it happening is not high. And here re is that no, it can't happen. For this to happen, it means that. So looking at this particular keywords here will tell you the probability of it happening. And that is why when you see ray here, that is negligible 1, and the unlikely is negligible 2, possible is low, and likely here is 4 moderate, and certain here is 5 moderate. So in a scale of 1 to 5, you can see how you can scale this. 1 being the lowest, 2 being second to the lowest, 3 being the moderate, being in the middle, 4 being this thing fourth to the highest, and 5 being the highest. So this is how you can use this to ascertain how severity, how major, how moderate, or how minor a situation can be. Looking at here, let's look at this again. The combined probability and impact score of individual risk are simply plotted into the 2-dimensional matrix. Threshold for low, moderate, or high can be shown on the metrics which help in rating the risk. Risk can be moved around the metrics as a result of implementing the risk response plan. So this is another way of trying to find the severity, looking at the PI metrics. So when you look at here, insignificant, this is where we can capture under insignificant. So when you are looking at minor, under minor, this is what you can capture under minor. But when you are looking at moderate, then you are looking at if it's certain under moderate, then it's critical. If it's certain that something will happen under major, then it's critical. And if it's certain that something will happen under severe, then it's extreme. And that will help you to know the kind of attention that will be given to every risk at every time. So if it's certain and is within the insignificance, then you know it's moderate situation. But if it's certain and is under severe, then you know that is extreme and you have to drop everything you are doing, because under this situation is life and death. And when you are capturing something that is likely to happen, is likely and severity is critical. Possible and severity, when you mix up possible and mix it with severity, it becomes 15 point, which is still critical. When you capture something unlikely under severe, then it's still high. When you capture something rare under severe, is moderate. So this is how you capture things. But when you capture something certain under major, is critical. So it's a mixture of PI under certainty and the other insignificance, minor, and major, and significance, and the severity. So you combine them together for you to get the kind of attention to give to any particular risk, looking at the impact. So you're trying to determine the impact and the response level attached to any issue or any risk or any within this. So that is how we use this PI metrics. That is probability impact metrics. So here is probability and the other one is impact. So that is how to mix this. It's a mix of probability and impact to get the response level. So with this, we've had enough insights on how to manage our risk by applying RAID-log and equally applying PI metrics to understand the probability and impact of a particular risk, and then know the kind of attention to apportion to any particular risk or issue, looking at the PI metric. So it's another tool. You can use this tool, or you can equally use RAID-log. But you're looking at here, red log is always giving us see the priority, the critical. We already seen it in red. But some people, depending on, you might go to the organization, you find out that what they are using is PI metrics for managing their risk. And you can go to another organization, you can find out they are using red log, whichever one you already have a knowledge of how to use any of them. But in our project, we are going to be using red log. So let's look at stakeholder management. Stakeholder management, please, if you have any question, you'll be writing your questions. If like some of the areas where you want me to revisit after this presentation, just write them down so that during the question time, you can ask questions and you can revisit them. So, but for now, let's just keep moving and try to finish the presentation. Now we have stakeholder management. Stakeholder management is the process of identifying, understanding, and managing the expectation of those who are affected by the project. The word expectation is very key here. Expectation. What are the expectations of these people who hired you to do the job for them? Are you working within their expectation? Are you just working based on what you think? This is where we start having problems with stakeholders, because a project manager, a business analyst will start working on, because they have implemented so many e-commerce business or e-commerce application, and now they hire them to implement this particular e-commerce. They'll start doing what they think is good without putting stakeholders' need into consideration, not knowing that stakeholders, you can use e-commerce in various ways. So stakeholders' expectation from a particular e-commerce application can differ from other e-commerce applications. So the way they want to use it might be different. And this is why it's important to understand their expectation. So stakeholders are everybody that is affected by a project. It's not only the influential people or the owner of the project or the project sponsor. They are not only the stakeholders. All the team members are stakeholders because they are affected in one way or the other. People working within the process or working within the application or they're all stakeholders. So stakeholders here, it involves proactively engaging stakeholders, addressing their concern and ensuring their continued support for the project. Continued support is continued. We use the word buy-in, we use the word support. Buy-in and support, they are just addressing the same thing. So it's for you to constantly be enjoying their support. Once you stop enjoying the support of the stakeholders, more especially the high influence stakeholders, it can become so tough for you as a project manager. So what are the benefits of good stakeholder management? Increase stakeholder buy-in. Stakeholder buy-in, like I say, you see buy-in and support, you see the word is here, they are using them interchangeably. So when you say support, you see the same thing. When you say buy-in, you see the same thing. These are some technical jargons you have to be seeing in project management, and you need to get used to it. So increase stakeholder buy-in can be increased stakeholder support and commitment to project goal. improve project decision-making through diverse perspective, reduce project risk associated with stakeholders' resistance. Stakeholders' resistance is key here. It's something that you, as a project manager, a business analyst, these kind of questions, you can't run away from it. During interviews, they will always tell you, how do you manage difficult stakeholders? What are the difficult stakeholders? Resistant stakeholders, stakeholders that are not supporting you. So when you have good stakeholder management, it's going to reduce the risk associated with stakeholder resistance. They are not going to be resisting. They are going to be supporting you. When they are resisting, it means that even when you call them a meeting, they are not going to respond to your meeting. And they are not responding, and you need to capture requirements from them, and they are not coming. You can chase a stakeholder around for 1 month, and you are not going to see the stakeholder, and time is going. Your timeline is running. You have 6 months to deliver the project, and 1 month is gone, and you've not even seen the stakeholder you want to capture requirement from. You can see your project is at risk. So another important of good stakeholder management is enhance project communication and collaboration. Once there is good stakeholder management, there will be good communication and collaboration, because you've captured what they want, you've captured their expectation, you've understand the method of communicating with them, and it improves communication and collaboration. How do we create this stakeholder management plan? Identify all stakeholders, both internal and external, and sponsors, etc. Analyze stakeholders based on power and influence, and interests. Power and influence are almost, they are just interchangeable. Can be classified as one thing. When a stakeholder is very powerful, it means these are the influential stakeholders. So here is power and interest. Interest is key. Some stakeholders are very powerful, but they don't have interest in what you are doing. Some stakeholders are very powerful, but they have interest in what you are doing. So understanding the power of a stakeholder and the stakeholder's interest is very important. So define communication strategy and engagement plan for each stakeholder group. The way you communicate with some stakeholders, like influential high-power stakeholders, shouldn't be the way you communicate with stakeholders with low power. High power and low power, they are different group of stakeholders. So you must understand, have a strategy to engage them. You cannot use the way you engage high power stakeholders to engage low power stakeholders. You won't get optimum results. You must have a micro management approach to this. So develop a process for managing stakeholders' expectations and addressing their concern. You must understand their expectation, and when they are not happy, you must know that they are not happy and address their concern. Monitor stakeholder satisfaction and adjust and make adjustment as needed. You must find a way to understand the level of satisfaction and when there is need for adjustment. So these are ways you can start managing your stakeholders very well. Best practice, build strong relationship with key stakeholders throughout the project. You see here, I use this word here, important. throughout the project. It means that you cannot, from the beginning to the end, you must have good relationship with your stakeholders, communicate openly and transparently with all stakeholders. All stakeholders, it didn't say some stakeholders. Everybody that is a stakeholder, they must know what is going on in the project, whether they are big, small stakeholders at this point must be duly communicated. There is high level of transparency in a project. It's very important that everybody that is working within the project or have interest that has been captured as a stakeholder must know what is going on. Manage stakeholders' expectation proactively and address concern. You see here, I say proactively, expectation, not reactively. Proactively, ahead of time, we should understand the way they want it and work towards what they want to achieve your goal. Involve stakeholders in key project decisions when appropriate. So, not all the stakeholders you see here when appropriate in key decision making. Because you check here, I say transparent with all stakeholders. Yes, to be transparent. When it's time for key decision making, when decision is taken, everybody should know what is happening. But when you are taking decision, know the stakeholders you need to involve during decision making, like the sponsors. You know, these are key decision makers. When there is need for funding, for more funding, or you find out that you are running out of fund, and these are the people that you need to, communicate with to seek their support and approval. Conclusively, effective stakeholder management is essential for building consensus and ensuring project success. By understanding and managing stakeholders' expectations, you can gain their support and navigate potential challenges more effectively. So let's look at this diagram together and see what stakeholders we have in an organization. Let's try to understand stakeholders in an organization before we start understanding stakeholders in a project. Looking at an organization, stakeholders will have employees, will have senior executives, will have shareholders, will have customers, we have suppliers and contractors, we have end users, we have families of employees, like you working in an organization as a wife, your husband is a stakeholder in that company because when you put to bed, when you go on maternity leave, your husband will go on paternity leave, meaning because he's a stakeholder. So whatever is affecting him from that company is affecting him too. So we have investors, we have lenders, we have partners, we have unions and regulators, we have community groups, we have media, like all of us know the importance of media. We have government. We know what government can do. For instance, here, if you want to do any project without government approval, like local council authorities, they can stop your project. And the union and regulators, when you have a labor union, they can go on strike, and it will affect your company. And you have community group. Let's take Niger Delta area in Nigeria, for instance. These are groups where the Nigerian oil, they're always making noise because they want to be recognized. Such people, if you are working there, like all these big companies like Shell, Chevron, you have to recognized community group, or they will make sure that your oil rig is not being done peacefully. Then let's try to understand project stakeholders. Organizational stakeholders are different from project stakeholders. Some people within the organization cannot be a stakeholder within your project. So, because some people tend to mix organizations. Once you say stakeholders, they think that all the organizational stakeholders are their stakeholders. Let me tell you, a CEO of a company might not be a stakeholder in your project, although he's the CEO, but he's not a stakeholder in your project. So you don't have to go and start reporting or start carrying your CEO along if he's not a stakeholder in that project. So who is a project stakeholder? The highest person can be the sponsor, the project sponsor. For instance, if the project sponsor is the marketing manager who have secured approval of funding to implement a Dynamics 365 CRM within the organization, this is the big stakeholder here. So let's look at various project stakeholders. The leader of that project is the project manager. He's a stakeholder. Then we have project team members. So all the team members who are working within that project, all of us are stakeholders. Then we have process owners, people who owns the process. A person that owns a process could be the head of department or head of the unit, or the person that is really working can be a CRM or sales manager who really spend time working within the CRM. That is a process. It's a process within the process. These are owners. Then we have people who works on the process, a process owner and people who works on the process. People who works on a process can be people like a sales rep. They work within the sales area, but the process owner here can be the sales manager. So they are all stakeholders. Customers of the process output, suppliers of the process, managers whose resources, schedule, budget, or results will be affected by the project. We have operations manager, we have finance manager, we have procurement manager, we have HR, so training manager, we have performance manager, we have senior executives. So these are stakeholders within a project. So you can see that it's not all the organizational stakeholders here. Yeah, if this project is being affected by local authority in one way or the other, then you have to capture like local authorities within this as stakeholders as well. So these are what we call stakeholders. The local authorities here, they can be external stakeholders in a project. Then community group here, they can be, if this is affected in one way, that this project maybe you are trying to, drill a borehole in a community, then you find out that some angry youths might start protest. These are community groups. So they are stakeholders who might find a way to, handle such situations. So, but such people can be regarded as external stakeholders. So how do we start a stakeholder management? Number one, brainstorm the individuals and group who may have a stake in a project. You don't do this in isolation. You can do this with your team. Sort them by their power and their interest. So you can plot them using power and interest metrics, which you are going to see very soon. Identify the gap between their current desired and involvement level. The current and desired involvement. So you need to do a gap analysis within your project management activity. Sorry, within the stakeholder management analysis. When you are doing your stakeholder analysis, you still need to perform what we call a gap analysis to understand their current and desired involvement level. Create a plan to manage ongoing communication. Ongoing communication means that it's an ongoing till the project comes to an end. So this is how you can group your stakeholders based on their external or internal. Looking at this diagram here, this is what we call affinity diagram. In this affinity diagram, you can see here, this is the project. This is the project team. So within this project, there are other people in the organization that are not project team, that are not part of this project, as in directly team members. This is the project leader, this is team members, and this is the whole organization. And in the organization, we have senior managers, we have process owners, we have people who work in the process, we have other internal stakeholders, we have finance manager, we have senior managers or senior management. They are all stakeholders within this project, and we have external stakeholders. You see they are out of this diagram, but they are still stakeholders. These are customers, so they are not within the organization. So, but within the organization, these are stakeholders that are within the organization. This is the project. So every other people here captured, you can see they are in different groups, but all of them are within the organization and they are stakeholders within this project. And these are the team members working in the project. And these are external stakeholders, customers. So that's how you are doing grouping in affinity diagram. You can use paper to do this, or you can, if you search online, you can see maybe affinity diagram templates, but this is not a big deal. Then we have a table like this for you to capture stakeholders. First, capture stakeholders by their names, position in the organization. We've done this before. Their role, their power, their level of awareness, their level of interest, the level of support they give to you, whether they are supportive or not. These are how you capture them. And when that is done, you can equally use what we call power and interest matrix. So why we call this power and interest matrix or power and interest grid, whichever one you hear, it can be called matrix, it can be called grid, power and interest, but the main thing is that you're trying to tell us the power and the interest of different group of stakeholders. So now you can see here at the up here, you see this, under this we have power here. That is power we see here. And here we see interest down here. Now you can see on top high, that is high power, and low under here is low, which is low power. Then here we see interest. In our left, we have low power, and then we have high power. So for you to get this, you need to understand the the level of power they have and the level of interest they have. You need to merge them. When you merge power and interest, understand where the stakeholders belong. So the first here, stakeholders here, when you merge high power and low interest, these are stakeholders here. If you look down here, this is interest is low. If you look here, is power is high. So it's high power, low interest. These are the people with high power and low interest. When you're trying to do your stakeholder analysis and you see people with high power and low interest, what this particular grade is trying to tell us is you have to understand these people. That's mean by understand. Understand and satisfy their need. That is what this power matrix is telling us. These are called context setters. These people, they are not interested in what you are doing, but they have high power, so they can cause problem for you. They can put your because of the level of power they have, they can put your project on hold for weeks or even months. If you go to construction industries, such people can be health and safety officials. You know, health and safety officials, they are regulators, but they are always moving around various projects, seeing whether you people are observing health and safety. So if they come to a site and there is no good health and safety, they can close the site down for months. And you being a stakeholder, when you are expected to deliver a project in 6 months and your project is closed for 1 month for not complying to the health and safety regulation, you know that you are losing your job, you know, and you know what that means. So under these people, all you need to do is try to understand the law. If it is health and safety, understand the health and safety law. If it is data protection people, try to understand the Data Protection Act, GDPR. You know, if you are, so these are how you handle such people. Then you have people here with, you see them here, is high power. They are up. Everybody that is up have high power. And looking at here, this is high as well. They have high interest. This is interest. This is where the high interest, and this is the, so they have high power and they have high interest. Meaning that these are your project where your project sponsors. This is where they belong. What do you do to this kind of people? Engage and manage them actively. Nothing you do should come to these people as surprise because they are the main owner of this project. So they can fire you without any, you know, so you have to be careful with these people. Then we have other people like we call crowd. Such people, you monitor them. Why are you monitoring them? Because they can cause problem for you, and they don't even know they are causing problem for you. I'll use construction industry for instance again. When you come to construction industry, where they are building a house, we have electricians, we have plumbers, we have bricklayers, we have laborers. These people will never want a project to end. They want a 6 months construction or building project to last for 2 years so that they can have a place to go to work. These people, if you don't monitor them, when they come to work, they will always be smoking, you know. So, but you need to monitor them to make sure that they are doing their work because you need to deliver the project as a project manager. In our own area, we in the IT sectors are always working on softwares or applications. Such people are developers. All these developers, you see, so many of these developers are freelancers. They can be working on different applications at the same time. And if you don't monitor them and follow them up, they will leave your own application and be doing other application, working on other, because they have different clients. They are freelancers. So you have to monitor them, make sure that they are doing your job. So these are the crowd. Then you have defenders. These are some people that are going to, if you are trying to implement a Dynamics 365 CRM, there are some people that are going to be working on that new solution. So they are waiting, they are expecting, they are monitoring to see the progress of this new solution they will start working on soon. So all you need to do is try to keep them informed. You see here, they have interest. Their interest is high, curiosity, because they want to know how their new work environment is going to look. Try to keep them informed, you know, for them to know what's going on. They have low power and they have high interest. But this crowd, they have low power and they have low interest. They don't have any power and they don't even have interest. They just want to be going to work and be making money, not whether the project is succeeding or surviving or not. So that is how to capture and manage your stakeholders. So these are key areas we are going to look at on how to manage our stakeholders. This will help us to do the gap analysis, and this will help us to do the communication plan. So this is it. This is involvement worksheet where we capture stakeholders, we capture their level of interest, and here we capture stakeholders as well, and their method of communication. So without wasting time, let's look briefly at this stakeholder analysis document. So this is the document here we are going to be using. So here, under this stakeholder analysis document, Charles Ugu here is captured as a stakeholder, is captured as a director in the organization. Within the project, is captured as a sponsor. Under the kind of power Charles is having high power. You know, you see here is select high, the level of select high, then the level of awareness, then you capture whether Charles is aware of, or yes, Charles should be aware. Then level of interest, Charles have high power and Charles is quite interested in this project because he's the sponsor. So you captured yes. So is Charles supportive? If Charles is supporting you, then you capture yes, Charles is supporting you. But if Charles is not aware of what you're doing, you capture here that is not aware. And when Charles is not aware of what you are doing, it can be a situation for you. Then if Charles is not aware, there's no way you can capture that is Charles. So meaning that Charles under aware, you cannot capture that Charles is aware because you already captured that Charles is not aware. Meaning that this is a gap. Charles is supposed to be aware of everything you are doing, but he's not aware, meaning that you are not getting it. Then level of interest. Here, because Charles is the sponsor, he should be interested. Although he's not aware of what you are doing, but he's interested. They want to know what you are doing. Is CHAS supporting you? Because CHAS is not aware of what you are doing, CHAS is not supporting. Here you cannot capture that CHAS is so this is a gap here. Within the current process, within your current relationship with your stakeholders are not aware of what you are doing. You are taking decisions in isolation. And because of that, they are interested in knowing what you are doing. And because they're interested in knowing what you are doing, and they are not aware of what you are doing, they are not supporting you. So this is the desired level. You have captured the situation here, and you need to mitigate it. This is a problem you need to solve. Trying to solve this problem, you must make sure that CHAS is aware of what you are doing, and CHAS is already interested, it should be interested, and you must make sure that you are getting CHAS support. CHAS is always supporting. You need to get CHAS support. And the method of communication, you decide what are the method of communication. You can say email. So that is method of communication. So you have to be sending me emails on everything you are doing. And you have to be sending me email on everything you are doing. That is now, we have moved to communication action plan within this stakeholder analysis. Under this communication action plan, for you to make sure that CHAS is aware of everything you are doing, you have to be sending. That is method of communication that CHAS wants. Email, send me email. And then, is it responsive? Who should be sending this email? Because in a project, we have a project manager, we have business analysts, we have developers. Who should be sending this email? The person that should be sending this email is project leader, which is the project manager. That is the responsibility. It's the responsibility of the project manager to be communicating to the sponsor. Not everybody should be communicating the sponsor. So there's what we call line management. So anybody who wants to talk to the sponsor should talk to you, and you talk to this. That is how it should be. So that's why you should capture the responsibility of who, so that they know who should be doing what. If this stakeholder analysis is a document that everybody should be using, then frequency. How often should you be communicating the stakeholder? Because you want stakeholders to know everything you are doing, doesn't mean you'll be bombarding stakeholders with emails every day, every month, every afternoon. It can piss the stakeholder off. So all you need to do at the end of the week, you decide when you'll be submitting your report. It can be project status report. By the week, you make sure you submit it on time, maybe on Friday before 12 o'clock, so that you can have a look and give feedback before the end of the week. If you are submitting a report by 4 p.m., what's the time you expect the stakeholder to look at your report and give you a feedback? So you have to do that on time. If the stakeholder is through phone that you communicate with the stakeholder, capture the phone, But if it's through email, capture the email. Here, if it's like me, I said it's already from the email that I want. So here you capture my email at C Ugu at example.com. So, and then after every communication, you should expect communication is two ways. After every communication, all the feedback you get from the stakeholder, you have to keep a log of the feedback you get from the stakeholder, so that you know your communication. Because if you have a lot of stakeholders here, you at times your head might be full. You don't know what this particular stakeholder is requesting from you. So in avoid to start mixing a lot. So whenever you communicate to a particular stakeholder, log the feedback against the stakeholder, and that is it. So this is how you can do your stakeholder analysis using this document. You can see it's very clean and powerful document. Good. So we move to another topic called RACI metrics. So we still have to, we're going to be fast, but we need to cover all this. So RACI metrics is a way of still managing your stakeholders, but mainly within your team members, you know. RACI metrics, also known as responsibility assignment metrics, is a tool used in project management to define the roles and responsibilities of various team members for each task or deliverable within a project. RACI here stands for R for responsibility, A for accountable, C for consulted, and I for informed. Responsible means the person who performed the task. Accountable means the person who ultimately answerable for the completion of the task. There should be only one accountable person. Consulted, someone whose input is valuable for completing the task successfully. Inform, someone who needs to be kept up to date on the progress of the task. So you must have to understand this very well for you to understand who is doing what within the team members, within the project team, or among the team members. The key benefit is clarity and transparency. Everybody knows what they are doing. The RACI metrics clearly define rules and responsibility, reducing confusion and finger pointing. If there is no good RACI metrics, everyone says, it's your duty to do this, it's your responsibility, it's not my responsibility. But when there is a good RACI metrics, defines everybody's responsibility within the project, everybody know what they are doing. This will reduce the finger pointing, and some people that are overzealous, they will forget their own job and be doing other people's job. So when we have RACI metrics, all this will stop. Then number two, improved accountability. By assigning clear accountability, RACI metrics ensure that ownership and completion of tasks. So when there is accountability, you know who is answerable. In most cases, project manager is accountable for everything, making sure that everybody does their duty, their tasks on time and on budget. So another benefit of RACI is enhanced communication. The RACI metrics foster communication by identifying who need to be involved at each stage of the task. Effective resource allocation by understanding who is responsible and consulted for tasks. Resources can be allocated effectively. How do we create RACI? List all the project tasks and deliverable across the top row. List all the team members down in the first column. Then assign RACI code RACI for each team member in relation to the tasks they perform. So the best practice is involve key stakeholders while developing a RACI matrix. Ensure the RACI matrix is clear, concise, and easy to understand. Communicate RACI matrix to all team members. Review and update RACI metrics as the project progresses. Okay, let's look at RACI here briefly before we look at our own document. This is how a RACI matrix should look like. Here you see responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. So, and here we see RA, responsible and accountable, because some people can be responsible and they're still accountable. We see CI, then you see consulted and informed, and we see support. SCI is not originally part of RACI, but over time, some school of thought say that supported should be, because in most cases, in most projects, we have support team, which is this support team, like the project coordinators or the project support officers, like PMOs, they are not really doing any particular task. They are just there to support the team members, making sure like those who need anything or confused, they are just generally providing support. You know, it can be IT support team, it can be project support officer, but there is, according to there is need for support. But up to date, they have not been captured in most of the, RACI is still been known as RACI. So this term as support has not been really fully adopted. So looking at this RACI here, you see the activities. First, list all the activities in the project, and here list the person. You can capture them by their role or capture them by their name. Here, Adams, Fadi, Peter, Sarah, Zachariah, Harvey, capture them by their name. If you want to capture them by their role, you have sponsor, we have master, BB, we have black belt, and we have green belt. This is a role. So under this number one, when you capture activity, you have to define who is accountable. You capture who is, so from there you keep on assigning who does what within a particular project activities. So it will be better for us to do it practical using our own document to see how this works. So I'm going to take us to, this is our red document here. That will make things easier for us. In this our document here, the project here is CRM enhancement project, and the project lead here is say Charles. Okay, now we've captured activities and deliverable here. Here we see receive the project mandate, assemble project team members, defines roles and responsibilities, identify stakeholders and their expectation, facilitate initial requirement gathering. Now, the roles here we have project sponsor, project manager, business analyst, developer, and project support officer. Okay, now under this particular receive project mandate, I will say what is the role of a project manager? in this. What is the project manager? A project sponsor. The project sponsor here should be consulted and informed. That is only what it can do when it comes to receive project mandate. And who is there? What is stakeholders' responsibility in receiving project mandates? The project manager is responsible for receiving project mandate and is accountable as well. So that's why we selected R and A from the drop down. If you feel that is just responsible, you can select R. But based on my own expert judgment, doing this, you have to work collaboratively with your team while developing this RACI, not as a solo project manager. You work with your team members or with your stakeholder. So for me, I believe the project manager is responsible and accountable, and that's why I selected this. So assemble team members. The project sponsor should be informed, and the project manager is responsible and accountable. So, and here, business analyst should be informed. The developer should be informed. Every other person should be informed. Define roles and responsibilities, inform. Project manager is responsible and accountable. Business analyst should be informed. Developer should be informed. Project support officer should be informed as well. Then facilitates initial requirement gathering. Project sponsor should be informed. Project manager is accountable. Project accountable is making sure that the business analysts really conduct this, facilitate this initial requirement. You must make sure that this is done. So you're accountable. But it's not your responsibility to do that. It's the responsibility of a business analyst. So that's why business analysts should equally be R. And others, I, developer should be informed. If there is a developer, project support officer should be informed and consulted. And under identify stakeholders and the expectation, everybody should be responsible. It's going to be because everybody needs to know who is the stakeholder, so and understand stakeholders' responsibilities. But it's the duty of the project manager to make sure that this is done and equally responsible for doing that. So this is how I've used RACI metrics to assign this. So once you see RACI here, if you are a business analyst under you in any particular role, if you see R, you know that it's their duty to do that. You don't need for anybody to start telling you it's your job, because looking at RACI is only telling you R. You should act at the appropriate time. So that's how RACI is being used to manage stakeholders, understand or team members understand their roles and their responsibilities in project management. So, and quickly back to change management, and I think this is where we're going to stop for tonight. So change management is the process of managing changes to project scope, baseline, or schedule. It ensures that changes are implemented in a controlled and coordinated manner to minimize disruption and maintain project objectives. Benefits here are improved project flexibility and adaptability to changing circumstances, reduce risk of project scope creep and uncontrolled changes. What is project scope creep? Project scope creep is when project is moving away from the scope, creeping out. That is what means scope creep, which is dangerous in project management. If your project is not controlled, it can easily move into a scope creep. When we talk about scope creep, it's just like you're a driver moving from your lane to another lane. When you are a driver driving out of your lane, what are you looking for? Accident. You know what accident happened can equally claim your life, not so. That is it. So change management is very important because it reduces risk of scope creep. Scope creep here is very important. If you need to cram it, you need to cram it because it's something you have to be looking out for all the time as a project manager. As a project manager, these are some of the key words you should be cramming, not just understanding them, you must cram them. Scope creep is dangerous in project management. So you must understand, even if it means you go after this lesson to go and look at scope creep from under it, but it's simply moving out of project original scope, doing what we are not, moving out of the boundaries of that project. A scope is a boundary. So when you move out of boundary of a project, it's simply called scope creep. Then another benefit of change management is increased stakeholders buy-in for approved changes. Stakeholders buy-in, we'll talk about buy-in, support. When there is change in a scope, that doesn't mean that scope don't change, but when there is scope is a change or a request for change in scope, it must be duly documented, and the impact analysis must be carried out and documented, and the approval must be sought and approved before any change can be done. And when there is approval, a new budget must be made for the new changes. So then enhance communication and transparency around the project changes. These are key benefits of applying change management in your project management. How to create a change management process. Define a clear process of submitting, reviewing, and approving change requests. Establish a clear control board for evaluating the impact of proposed change. So within your project team, part of your plan in change management, you have a team called change control board. When there is a change or when a stakeholder is requesting for a change that is not captured in the project charter, all you need to do is capture the change, clearly capture the change, and send it to the change control board to evaluate the impact of the proposed change. You yourself, you can become part of the member of the board. You can even chair the board. It's a mini committee within your project team. So we'll call it change control board to help you evaluate the impact of any proposed change. Develop a communication plan to notify stakeholders about approved changes. If there is a change and is approved, it must be, all the stakeholders must be notified that there is a change and it has been approved. So let me use Nigerian slang, change. So update project documentation, like work breakdown structure, schedule, budget to reflect approved changes. All your documents must reflect the approved changes, including the budget. Monitor the impact of the change and make adjustments as needed. So, the best practice while doing this is to document all the changes and their rationale for future references, communicate changes effectively to all stakeholders impacted by the change, provide training and support to users affected by changes to the project scope, continuously evaluate the effectiveness of the change management process. So, change process management is a critical skill for project managers in today's dynamic environment. By implementing a structured change management process, you can ensure that changes are managed effectively and projects maintained on track to meet its objectives. So these are clear 5 steps of capturing a change in a project. First is under initiation. All you need to do is capture the change request, and then you do the assessment. Mind you, you have created a change evaluation board. They are the people that need to evaluate this change for you and do the analysis. The change is approved or denied. You must capture whether the change is approved or denied. If the changes are eventually approved, then it has to be implemented. The change is implemented, and once the change is implemented, then you close the change request is closed. So this is a change control sheet. This is a document you can use to control or capture your change. Within this document here, you see the project title, you capture this is the document you are going to pass to the change control board for evaluation. Well, after capturing it, here is the name of the project number, the project manager, the change request. Here, the originator of the change and the phone, date of request, change request number, items to be changed, and the references, description of change, reason for change, benefit for change, dates is equally required. Then estimated cost. You have to estimate the cost of change and time to implement the change. They have to be captured here. Then priority. How important is this change? You need to prioritize the change and the consequence, the impacts on the deliverables, implication of not proceeding with this change and the risk. Then change evaluation. When this is captured, you pass this to the change control board and they will do the evaluation and they will make their notes here, what is affected, work required, resources, cost, dates, and related change requests will equally be, captured here, and name of the evaluator, whoever carries out or whoever is the chair or the leader of the evaluation committee or the evaluation board, date evaluated and signature. So when this is being evaluated, it has to be submitted for final approval. If approved, then you have to start implementing the change within the project. So this is all the key essential techniques. There are so many techniques, but you can capture this 7, we have it here, 7 essential techniques we've discussed here, then you are ready to kickstart your career as a project manager. So other techniques are some techniques you'll be seeing as a senior project managers or just for the knowledge sake. But with all this here, you are good to go. So this is where we're going to end it for tonight. And I know we've really gone past our time, but it's important so that we can progress in this program. So if you have any question, I can take your question at the moment. Chineye and Anastasia, any question for me? Or both of you sleeping already?
Yeah, no, you're the one that asking. We are here. Thank you for the section. Okay, I
Mm.
want to clarify. Because of risk management and unforeseen circumstances in project management, is it a good practice to add extra cost to project costing? And how do you handle that?
No, you don't have every cost you're adding to your project must be justified. You cannot say because of unforeseen circumstances, we call it padding.
Mm.
And it's not good, it's a bad practice. You know the exact cost of your project, you put it there. So if you're adding padding because of it means that we are inflating the cost of the project. So the only way is try to use what we call contingency plan. Contingency plan is trying to use have a buffer in your budget. If, like I said, if 10,000 is approved for that project, then try to make your budget, do your own budget as a project manager around 10,000, at around 7,000. You have made a buffer contingency plan, but you have not inflated the price of that project because we have auditors, who knows. For instance, now if you're a project manager, when you are planning for this project, they will say, okay, what is the rate for a developer? And they say, okay, what is the average rate of a developer? How much a developer is paid per day? We can say, well, average rate of a developer, which is agreed, is £400 a day. So when the budget is being made for you, that budget will be, made within the rate of 400 a day for a developer. And you will have the opportunity to be the person hiring, to become the hiring manager. So I know a lot of project managers who are equally the hiring manager. They have power to hire people they work with. In a situation like this, you can make a budget. So, okay, you can start looking for a good project, a good developers that can take 350 per day. You are already saving money. You
Yes.
can use a situation like that, start saving money, and that will become contingency for you, you know. So in a situation, something happened, you can fall back on those. It's not that you save that money, it's not money, it's still the project money. Because at the end of the day, you give accounts. You cannot say because I've saved 50 pounds per developer's work in a day, it's not your money, but you have saved money for that project, and the developer is still giving good service. Because at the end of the day, you will see how much developers are actually paid for. You cannot hide what they are being paid. Everything is transparent. So meaning you've already, so this is a way of kind of saving some money for the rainy day. You've already started making but if they say developers is, you already go and hire developers for 400, you don't even want to bargain, because the budget here is 400. You just say 400. That's why you see so many hiring manager, they will be bargaining. You know, you find out you come to a site, 2 business analysts working on the same project, but both of them are earning different amount of money. One business analyst can be earning 200 a day. The other one is earning 400 a day. It depends on their bargaining power and the way they're able to present themselves before the hiring manager. So with this, there is some savings. You are making saving. Try to save money for your project. That is you trying to be conservative. You are saving money for a situation like this. But if you are already adding more money, they know the average, you can get a good developer for 400 pounds and that is it. And you start saying that, no, you are going to be paying developers 700 pounds or 600 pounds. That is recklessness in your spending. And it might not go down well with the project auditors or the stakeholders.
Right, sir.
Okay. Any more questions? Anastasia, are you sleeping? Okay. All right. Thank you for joining tonight. And like I said, I'll look at our based on what you submitted, your availability for the days you'll be available. You already said between 11 to 12, but I don't know the actual date. So actual days. So that we can try to move as fast as we can, is for your own good and is for everybody's good. If you finish on time, means you start making money as soon as you can. So
Every day except Friday, because Friday the school closes early.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problems. Thank you for joining tonight, and see you soon.
Good night. Bye.
Yeah.